Hi guys, sorry to interrupt your viewing, but please subscribe to the channel and like this video. Thank you.
They say your life flashes before your eyes when you're about to die, but no one ever tells you what flashes through your mind when your whole life gets taken from you while you're still alive and kicking, well, barely kicking. I opened my eyes to the cold, white hum of a hospital room, blinking through the fog of anesthesia, trying to figure out why the hell my legs felt like they belonged to someone else. There were wires running from my arms, a catheter that made me wince, and that distinct antiseptic smell that clings to every inch of your soul when you've been lying flat for more than a few hours. I tried to move my toes. Nothing happened. I tried to lift my head, and everything spun like I was on a damn tilt-a-whirl from a carnival I never asked to attend. Then I heard her voice, Megan's voice. Soft at first. Almost rehearsed. Like she was reading lines off a script she wrote the night before. She said my name, gently, almost like she cared. "Rick," she said, "I'm glad you're awake." For half a second, I thought maybe she'd come to check on me. Maybe she'd hold my hand, kiss my forehead, tell me I scared her, tell me she missed me. But what she said next broke something in me I didn't know could still be broken. "Since you're useless now," she said, clear as a bell and sharp as a blade, "I'm taking the kids and the car." I thought I misheard her. Maybe it was the morphine, maybe the painkillers, maybe my brain hadn't caught up yet. But then I saw the guy standing behind her in a blue blazer with a leather folder tucked under his arm, and that bastard didn't look like a doctor. He stepped forward and said, "Mr. Turner, I represent your wife. These are divorce papers. She's requesting full custody of the children and exclusive rights to all marital vehicles and property." And right there, while I was still hooked up to a damn machine that beeped every time I blinked too hard, that son of a bitch dropped the folder on my bedside table like he was delivering a menu at Denny's. I didn't say a word. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just looked at Megan, really looked at her, like I was trying to find the woman I married hiding somewhere in that ice-cold stare. But she wasn't there. Whatever we had, whatever was real between us, it was gone, burned to ash and scattered in the damn wind. She didn't flinch. Didn't blink. Just turned to leave like it was a business meeting and not the gutting of a man who gave her 2 decades of his life. And the kids, she didn't even bring them. Not even a crayon drawing or a get-well-soon card. I guess I was dead to her already. I signed the papers with a shaky hand and a numb heart. Not because I agreed. Not because I was done fighting. But because I couldn't feel anything except the weight of betrayal pressing down on my chest like a concrete slab. They both left without another word. No goodbye. No thank you. No nothing. The nurse came in an hour later and found me still staring at the ceiling like it might give me an answer. She asked if I needed anything, and I just said, yeah, a time machine. She didn't laugh. Probably wasn't the first broken man she'd seen in that bed. For the next 3 days, I didn't speak to anyone. I barely slept. My phone buzzed with a few texts from coworkers, guys from the shop checking in, but I didn't answer. I didn't want to explain. Hell, I didn't even know what I'd say. How do you tell people that the woman you thought would be there through sickness and health jumped ship the second the tide got rough? I kept thinking about the last normal day. The last time we sat at the kitchen table, eating cold pizza with the kids while watching cartoons. I remembered how she laughed when our youngest, Ellie, dropped pepperoni in her milk. That laugh used to mean everything to me. Now it just echoed in my head like a ghost sound from a dead house. The doctors said recovery would be slow. They said I might not get full function back. They said I had to be patient. But they didn't know what it felt like to be 45, broken, alone, and left behind like yesterday's trash. They didn't know what it meant to wake up to find that the woman who once held your hand through childbirth now saw you as a burden, a liability, a paycheck with legs that might never walk again. On the 4th day, I asked the nurse for a mirror. She hesitated, like she knew what I'd see. My face looked 10 years older, my eyes sunken, my beard patchy. I looked like a man who lost a war before the first shot was fired. But deep down, beneath the pain and the meds and the fury boiling under the surface, something else sparked. It wasn't hope. Not yet. But it was close. It was a whisper in my chest that said, "Not like this. You don't go out like this. I let the whisper sit there, let it settle in my bones like kindling. That night, I looked out the window and watched the parking lot lights flicker. I thought about the kids. I thought about the silence in that room. And I made myself a promise, one I didn't say out loud, but one I knew I'd keep. I wasn't done yet. They wanted me down, forgotten, erased. But I'm still here. And I'm just getting started. The day they wheeled me out of the hospital, I didn't even have anyone waiting outside for me, not a single soul. No kids holding up signs, no wife with a coat or warm words, just a bored-looking cab driver checking his phone and honking twice like I was late for something I never asked for. I slid into the back seat like a bag of broken bones and stared out the window the whole ride, trying not to think about what came next because the truth was, I had no damn clue. The driver made small talk I didn't answer, then dropped me off in front of a rusted-out trailer on the far edge of town that smelled like mildew and disappointment. The kind of place people forget exists until someone overdoses or sets it on fire for insurance. It wasn't much, but it was mine, or at least it was until I missed a payment. The guy I rented it from was an ex-Marine who gave me a deal only because he used to bring his busted trucks to my garage back when I still had 2 working legs and a shop that hadn't been swallowed whole by divorce attorneys and debt. I hauled myself inside, dragging my busted body across linoleum floors that curled up at the edges like they were trying to run away too, and I collapsed onto a stained recliner that smelled like 1,000 cheap beers and old sweat. That was home now. That was where I was supposed to heal. Physical therapy started 2 days later, and let me tell you something about pain, it's a liar. It tells you this is all you'll ever feel. It tells you every second that you're weak, broken, finished. But I had something inside me stronger than pain. It wasn't hope. It sure as hell wasn't peace. It was fury. Quiet, simmering, bone-deep fury. Every time I clenched my fists and felt nothing, every time I tried to take a step and landed flat on the floor, I thought about Megan's voice saying, "You're useless now." Those 3 words lit a fire under me that burned hotter than any morphine drip could soothe. So I got to work. I bought a cheap burner phone off a guy at the gas station, not for calling people. God knows I had no one left to call, but to document everything. I recorded my rehab sessions. I filmed myself trying to stand. I took pictures of every bruise, every new scar, every goddamn inch of progress. I wrote down every interaction, every conversation, and kept receipts for everything I bought, sold, or traded. I didn't even know what I was building yet, but I knew I needed evidence. I knew I needed a record. Because one day, someone was going to need to see just how far I'd come and just how far someone else had fallen. Megan, meanwhile, was living it up. I couldn't help myself. I still had access to her Instagram, the one she never bothered to change the password on. And there she was, smiling like nothing ever happened, holding up champagne glasses with some slick-haired real estate poodle named Travis, who wore loafers with no socks and probably called his mother, Mommy. They were taking trips, going to wine tastings, posting blurry photos in bed with captions like, "Best life." She even posted a photo of my daughter's ballet recital, my daughter, who I hadn't seen in weeks, with Travis in the background like he belonged there. That photo stayed in my head like a splinter under my nail. Then came the knockout punch. I was scrolling one night, sitting on the edge of my shitty bed with an ice pack strapped to my spine, when I saw it. Megan posted a story with a wide shot of a house. My house. My childhood home. The one my dad built with his own hands, the one I inherited, the one I put our names on when we got married because I thought forever meant something. She was living in it now with that bastard, drinking wine on my back porch, the same one I stained myself every spring, the same place I taught my son how to fix a lawn mower. I sold some of my old coin collection the next day, some rare silvers I'd been hanging onto since I was a teenager, and got around $600,000 for it. Enough to cover some legal consultation, rent for 6 months, and a used pickup truck that didn't scream, "I'm broken." I used $50,000 of that just setting things up, paperwork, consultations, even a damn storage unit to stash what little I had left that Megan hadn't taken or destroyed. You see, I wasn't just sitting around licking my wounds anymore. I was planning. I was collecting. Every paper she signed with my name on it without my permission. Every credit card she opened while we were still married. Every asset she shifted into shell companies she thought I didn't know about. You'd be surprised how sloppy people get when they think you're too broken to matter. And she thought I was done. She thought I was crawling into a hole to die quietly while she sipped sangria on my goddamn porch. She thought wrong. That night, I sat on the edge of the bed and looked at a picture from our wedding day, her in white, me in a suit that didn't quite fit but made me feel like a king, our smile still real. I stared at it a long time. And then I whispered something I didn't even know I believed until the words left my mouth. You married a fighter. You just didn't wait for the fight. Rehab was slow and unforgiving, like trying to climb a grease ladder in the rain with one arm tied behind your back. But there was something almost holy about the pain now, because every drop of sweat, every aching joint, every tremble in my legs meant one thing and one thing only: I was coming back. Not for her. Not even for the kids. I was coming back for me, and for the man she tried to erase. The more my body started to listen again, the sharper my mind became. It was like waking up from a long, numb coma, only to realize someone had been robbing you blind while you slept. And once I could sit up straight, walk a few steps, and hold a pen steady in my hand, I started writing things down. Not memories, not poems, not letters to myself. I started writing questions, hundreds of them, and then slowly, I began looking for the answers. The first crack came when I called the bank, pretending to need access to our old mortgage records. I knew I was no longer on the account, not officially, but the poor kid on the phone must have been new, because he let slip something he probably shouldn't have. He mentioned a recent refinance just 6 weeks before the divorce papers landed on my hospital tray. 6 weeks. That was before the surgery. Before the accident. Which meant she was already moving chess pieces behind my back while I was still crawling under cars to pay for ballet lessons and groceries. That was when I knew Megan didn't just leave. She planned it. I started going through old emails, searching her name, scanning every receipt and tax form I'd kept in a shoebox buried under the trailer's floor vent. I found a payment to a company I'd never heard of, something called Clearwater Property Management LLC. It was listed under a joint business expense, which didn't make any sense because we didn't own a damn business. A quick search online showed it was an umbrella company with multiple shell LLCs tied to real estate transfers, a couple of them right in our town, and one of them connected directly to our old address, my childhood home. My stomach dropped when I saw it. She hadn't just moved into my house. She had moved it legally. She'd shifted the deed. I couldn't figure out how she pulled that off until I remembered Travis. Mr. Real Estate. The guy with the loafers and the fake smile and the 2 white teeth. I'd seen his name before too, but this time I looked deeper. Turns out, Travis Hale wasn't just a realtor. He was the registered agent for 3 of the companies under the Clearwater umbrella, and one of them had filed documents with my forged signature. The name on the paper was mine, but the stroke, the way they are curved, the awkward slant was off, like someone who had practiced it once or twice, but didn't quite nail it. That's when I called Deb. Deb Carson was someone I hadn't spoken to in at least 15 years, maybe more. We went to high school together, and back then, she had a mouth on her that could strip paint off a Buick. I always liked her for that. She didn't bullshit and didn't care if you liked her or not. I'd heard she worked in law now, not as a lawyer, but close, paralegal, documents, research, the kind of stuff the suits don't want to dig through themselves. I found her through a mutual friend on Facebook, and to my surprise, she answered within minutes. I didn't say much in the message. Just need help. It's personal. Might be legal. She told me to come by her office the next day. I limped into that office like a man dragging his past behind him in a duffel bag, and when she saw me, she didn't smile. She didn't gasp. She just said, "Well, hell, Turner. You look like shit. Sit down and tell me everything." And so I did. Every inch of it. From the day in the hospital to the burner phone to the fake signatures to the bastard wearing my robe in my old damn house. She didn't flinch once. She took notes, asked questions, and when I was finished, She leaned back in her chair and said, "She screwed you hard. But it ain't over." For the next 3 weeks, we met quietly, usually late at night or early in the morning, piecing together the whole picture. Deb pulled up records, chased documents, even found out Megan had filed taxes listing me as a dependent the same year she filed for divorce. That little trick could land her in real trouble if pushed in the right courtroom. More importantly, Deb found the smoking gun. An email Megan sent to Travis, one she must have deleted from her inbox, but not from the server, where she said, "Once the refinance goes through and he's out of the house, we're in the clear. He'll never know. He'll never know." Those 3 words replayed in my head like a song I couldn't forget. She thought I'd disappear. Thought I'd stay down. Thought I'd just accept that I was broken and unworthy and step aside while she built a new life using the pieces of mine. That was her mistake. She didn't understand the kind of man I am. I don't go away quietly. I rebuild. I sharpen. I plan. And I never forget. That night, I sat outside the trailer in the old lawn chair that groaned under my weight and looked up at the stars. My legs still ached, my back was on fire, and the cold Missouri air bit through my jacket, but I didn't feel any of it. All I could hear was Megan's voice again, laughing with Travis, sipping wine on my porch. All I could see was that fake signature on the deed to my father's house. And that's when I said it out loud, slow and steady, like a promise carved into stone. "You forged my name. That's gonna be your mistake." There's a moment, just one, and it doesn't last long, when someone who's been stepped on finally stands tall again, and in that moment, they don't need a weapon or a speech or a damn crowd watching, because just standing, just breathing without asking permission, is enough to burn down 100 castles built on lies. By the time we had every document printed, every photo in its folder, every email neatly labeled and time-stamped, I wasn't dragging my leg anymore. I was walking again, slow but steady, and more dangerous than I'd ever been when I had 2 good knees and a wrench in my hand. Deb told me we had enough. She said we could hit them hard and fast, file it under seal, and let the system eat them from the inside out while they were still smiling for the camera. It started with a fraud petition, simple, quiet, legal. No shouting matches, no warning shots, just cold paperwork and deadlines. We filed under quiet fraud and financial misrepresentation, naming both Megan and Travis in the complaint, citing forged signatures, hidden LLCs, and real estate transactions that violated both spousal disclosure laws and basic damn ethics. I didn't want to go public. I didn't need the town gossiping, and I didn't want the kids hearing about it at school from some busybody mom who heard from her cousin's neighbor's sister. So we played it like chess, slow, deliberate, brutal. Deb knew a judge. Not like knew in a shady way, but knew in the sense that she once did his paperwork during a messy divorce, and he trusted her more than his own damn lawyer. That judge looked at the evidence and ordered an immediate freeze on their joint assets while the case was pending. That included bank accounts, real estate holdings, and anything tied to Clearwater Property Management. That meant their pretty wine nights were about to get a hell of a lot drier. I didn't even have to lift a finger beyond signing the affidavit and showing up once to swear I hadn't authorized the signature on the deed. Travis folded like a beach chair in a hurricane. The second the heat got real, when the IRS letters started showing up and the bank froze his account, he turned on Megan so fast it probably gave her whiplash. He submitted an affidavit saying he was only following her instructions, that she told him I'd agreed to the transfers, that she handled all the domestic finances, because I was too unstable after surgery. Unstable. That word pissed me off more than I expected. I spent my whole life being the guy who fixed other people's shit, engines, roofs, flat tires, broken doors, and now suddenly I was unstable because I had to sit in a chair and learn to walk again? Anyway, the court believed him. Or maybe they just didn't like Megan's face. Either way, things moved fast after that. The bank repossessed her Audi first, and I didn't even find out until I saw a photo on Facebook, her standing in the driveway, arms out, face twisted, yelling at the tow truck driver like he owed her something. A week later, the house my dad built with his hands and a dream, was hit with a lien. Not for me. Not yet. But because they'd defaulted on a payment due to the account freeze, it was poetic. It was math. And it was long overdue. Her credit cards stopped working next, which I only found out about because she tried to call me. Left a voicemail saying there'd been some sort of mix-up and asked if I'd be willing to have a conversation. I didn't call back. I saved the message. It was evidence now. Every word she said, every lie she tried to sell, was going in the file. I kept it all. And I kept working. Part-time at a local shop run by an old friend who didn't ask questions. I came in 3 days a week, swept the floors, organized tools, and slowly started turning wrenches again. My body ached, but my heart felt clean for the first time in years. One night, around 2:30 in the morning, I got up to pee because at my age, your bladder doesn't care what time it is, and I saw headlights pull up outside the trailer. Not a cop, not a delivery, just a sleek little car pulling in slow, like whoever was driving it wasn't sure if they were gonna knock or just cry and drive away. But I knew it was her before she even stepped out. Megan. Hair soaked. Clothes clinging to her like the rain itself hated her. She stumbled up the steps and knocked, not once, not twice, but 3 slow, pathetic taps like she already knew she didn't belong there. I didn't answer right away. I stood in the dark, just listening to her breathe on the other side of the door, listening to the kind of crying that only happens when someone's entire fantasy world shatters all at once. She said my name, barely above a whisper, then again, louder. Rick, please. That please sounded like it cost her something. Good. Let it hurt. Let it all come crashing down like the house of cards it always was. And then I opened the door. Not wide. Just enough for her to see me standing there, not in pain, not broken, not crawling. Just standing. Solid. Real. I didn't say anything for a long time, and neither did she. Rain ran down her cheeks, mixing with tears, and for a second, I almost saw the woman I used to love, the one who used to lie next to me after a long day and laugh at dumb movies and fall asleep holding my hand. But that woman was gone. Had been for a long time. She looked up at me and said, I don't know what happened. Everything just fell apart. Travis left. The bank froze my accounts. The house, Rick, I think they're taking the house. I didn't know what else to do. I stared at her like I was trying to figure out whether this was some kind of joke or a test or a final twist in a story already too full of them. And finally, I said, calm and clear, with no anger in my voice at all, you knew exactly what you were doing. You just didn't think I'd get back up. She started crying harder then, real sobs now, gasping for breath like guilt was choking her out. I let her cry. I let her stand there soaked and pathetic. Because I wanted her to remember this moment, not just tonight, but for the rest of her life. I wanted her to remember the door she stood at, the man she called useless, the man she left half dead in a hospital bed while she played house with a coward in my home. I didn't let her in. Not yet. I just watched her shiver. And as thunder rolled in behind her and the rain kept falling, I said one thing. Go ahead. Beg. She stood there under the flickering porch light like a ghost made of water and regret, mascara running down her cheeks, hair sticking to her face like seaweed pulled from a wreck, arms wrapped around herself not for warmth, but to keep from falling apart completely. And in that moment I didn't see my wife, not the woman I married, not the mother of my children, not the liar who forged my name, but something else entirely, something raw and pathetic and painfully human. The kind of human that only shows up when the bottom drops out, when the illusions are shattered and the truth comes crashing through the ceiling like a goddamn wrecking ball. She tried to speak through the sobs, but the first few words just came out as choking sounds, wet and heavy, the kind of sounds people make when they're drowning in their own guilt and suddenly realize no one's swimming out to save them. Finally, she got something out. I didn't mean for it to go like this, she said, her voice cracked and small, like a child who just got caught stealing candy but knows the consequences are way bigger than a slap on the wrist. I made a mistake, Rick. I didn't know Travis was, he left, he took everything, and the accounts are frozen. I don't know what to do. I stood there in the doorway in my flannel shirt and old jeans, barefoot on the cold wood floor, not flinching, not blinking, just watching her unravel in front of me like a cheap sweater tugged too hard by fate's dirty fingers. "You made a mistake?" I repeated slowly, not out of curiosity but disbelief, because a mistake is grabbing the wrong milk at the store or forgetting to lock your car, not lying, cheating, stealing, and abandoning someone when they can't stand on their own 2 feet. No, what she did wasn't a mistake, it was a goddamn strategy. A plan. A coordinated escape while I was tied to a hospital bed wondering if I'd ever walk again. "I thought you'd never get better," she said next, and there it was, the line that cracked the last piece of sympathy left in my chest. That was the truth, finally. She didn't leave because of Travis. She didn't leave because we were drifting. She left because she saw me weak, and it made her uncomfortable. She saw the man who used to fix everything, cars, sinks, fences, her problems, and couldn't stand the sight of him broken. "I thought I couldn't do it all myself," she added, but that part didn't land the way she hoped. Because she didn't do it herself. She handed everything off to someone else and hoped I'd disappear. "The kids miss you," she said softly, like that would be the final nail in the coffin of my resolve. And God help me, that one stung. Because I missed them too. Every damn day. I missed brushing my daughter's hair while she told me stories that made no sense. I missed tossing the football with my son, who still couldn't throw straight, but always tried. I missed family dinners and cartoons and those random, quiet moments when everyone's together but no one needs to say anything. And Megan knew it. She used it like a weapon, right there on my porch, wrapped in a plea for forgiveness she probably didn't even mean. I let the silence sit between us like a third person in the conversation, one who'd seen everything, heard every lie, felt every cold shoulder and missed birthday call. Then I finally spoke, and my voice came out steady and hard like steel pulled from fire. "You thought I was broken," I said, slow and clear, looking her dead in the eyes so she couldn't pretend later that she didn't hear me. "But you were the one who couldn't fix yourself." Her breath caught like she'd been punched. Not physically, but some hits land deeper than fists ever could. She blinked, and the tears came harder, faster, like the truth had finally knocked the air out of her. She tried to reach for me, like touching me would make any of it real again, but I stepped back, just one pace, enough to make sure she knew there was still a line she couldn't cross. "I don't hate you," I said, and it was the truth, though it surprised even me to hear it aloud. "I'm past hate. I'm past you." She nodded, or maybe just shivered. It was hard to tell in the rain, but she didn't argue. Not anymore. That, at least, showed a sliver of the woman I once knew. A woman who finally understood she couldn't spin or charm or manipulate her way out of this one. I turned and started to close the door, hand on the knob, rain still pounding the tin roof, her figure shrinking in the doorway like a shadow in retreat. But my hand hesitated. And I won't lie, not to you, not to myself. In that half second, I thought about the kids again. I thought about the way they used to scream, "Daddy," when I came home covered in grease. I thought about what it would do to them to see their mom fall apart, to hear me say no, to feel caught between two people who once promised forever and delivered anything but. But then I remembered the look in her eyes that day in the hospital, when I couldn't even sit up straight, and she called me useless like she was reading it off a label. That wasn't a mistake. That was a decision. And decisions come with consequences, whether you're ready for them or not. So I closed the door. Slowly, quietly. No slam. No shouting. Just the sound of a lock sliding into place, and a long silence where her sobs faded into the storm. Later that night, I sat at the table in my tiny kitchen and pulled out an old photo of the kids. One of the few things I took with me when she gutted the house and left me behind. They looked so damn happy in that picture. Carefree. Safe. I traced their little faces with my finger, then leaned back in my chair, cracked my neck, and whispered to the empty room, "They'll know the truth one day. Not today. But soon. Would you have opened that door? Or slammed it in her face like she did to you?"